Thank you. So, Excellencies, honorable guests, dear colleagues, and ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Good afternoon, and on behalf of President Mario Mattioli, welcome you all in the magnificent roofs of Palazzo Colonna, headquarters of the Italian Shipowners Association, Confitarma, but also headquarters of the Italian Maritime Cluster, Federazione del Mare. And I think that what a more indicated location than the house of the Maritime Cluster industry to talk about sustainability at sea. That is the subject of our discussions this afternoon. So thank you all for participating in presence and remotely to this roundtable that is part of the 13th edition of Diplomacy. And this year again, more than 100 events over 9 days of conference, meetings, and special events all around Rome are being organized till the end of the week. That is a real performance, as we say in French. So let me recall that the streaming contents of this roundtable is being broadcasted live on the Diplo channel and on the YouTube channel of the festival. So this afternoon, we have only 95 minutes, but maybe more, dear Giorgio, at disposal, and we have 10 speakers. 10 speakers of excellence that will exchange views on sustainability at sea that recently has been enshrined in a more inclusive concept, at least at EU level, of sustainable blue economy. So we have deliberately decided to skip from a pure conceptual approach and shift to a more pragmatic one, selecting concrete 7 case studies on blue sustainability that are currently underway and under the spotlight. So without taking much of your time, let me briefly recall that for sustainable development to be achieved, it is crucial to interconnect these 3 core elements: social inclusion, environmental protection, and economic viability, that are all necessary for the well-being of individual and society. To put it short, we know where we are going. We have now a clear vision, strategy, and a roadmap, at least at European level, but also at global level, I think, for some decades now. And last year, for example, the European Commission set the route for the industries and sectors related to oceans, seas, and coast, and adopting a communication that I'm sure you have all seen on the sustainable blue economy. In fact, the European Commission is firmly convinced that a sustainable blue economy is essential to achieving the objective of the European Green Deal and ensuring a green and inclusive recovery from the pandemic. And for the first time, and that is very important, the oceans have been declared pivotal for global and economy recovery, and this is really important. And the European Commission has indicated that environmental protection and economic activities have to go hand in hand. And I'm sure that you all remember the motto of the Commissioner Vinicius, responsible for the sea and fisheries, saying, "Thirst to be truly green, we must also think blue." So therefore, honorable guest, there is no alternative. The die is cast, and the blue economy sectors have to implement what we call the DDC, that is digitalize, decarbonize, and circularize. So, and this, we know around this table, we have been talking about that so many times, this applies to all sectors of the maritime cluster, to fisheries, aquaculture, coastal tourism, maritime transport, port activities, and shipbuildings that have all committed to reduce their environmental and climate impact. Of course, no doubt that this ecological and energetic transition, further tangled by the war in Ukraine, is for sure an immense challenge for all the sectors, but it has also to be seen as an opportunity, and as opportunity for a better future and also for new skills and competencies. So action is now, there's no doubt, and among others, as we will see this afternoon, we have to achieve the objective of climate neutrality and zero pollution, notably by developing offshore renewable energy, by decarbonizing maritime transport, and by greening ports, and we will address this afternoon. It is on the agenda. We will have to also to shift to a circular economy and reduce pollution, including through renewed standard for ship recycling and action to reduce plastics and microplastic pollution. And in Italy is at the forefront on this issue, and this is also to be addressed this afternoon. Of course, support climate adaptation and coastal resilience, and I think that we will talk also about port and some very interesting project concerning smart marine buoy this afternoon. So I think that it's going to be quite interesting to know what is going on also in Italy and offshore, but even if it's not in agenda this afternoon, but it's quite important for Federpesca, one our most distinguished member of the Federation of the Sea, ensure sustainable food and energy production. So I think that now, without any further ado, I think that, and I conclude that, let's say, introduction, we have also to know that transitioning to a sustainable blue economy has a cost. It has a cost, and it will require massive investments in innovative technologies, R&D, that is, in their turn, for sure, will create, as we were saying before, new green jobs and businesses. But what is sure is that more efforts have to also to be worked on data collection, R&D skills, and access to finance that is private and public to support, in particular, small and medium enterprise. And this is crucial. And of course, then we will maybe address that for when we will address the Arctic. Governance also is of paramount importance. So as you can all see, the direction is known. Let's start our round table. Inviting our 10 speakers around me, speakers of excellence, to express their views, to assess the state of sustainability registered in the 7 selected pieces in agenda this afternoon. All these, let's say this afternoon will be conducted in the English language, but we will, when addressing the plastic issue, we will do it in Italian, because we have best practice in Italy that has been recently adopted, and that as with this, we hope with the new government, enter into the implementing force, and we will address that later in Italian. So without any, because time is running, let's start with the Arctic. And we all know that in recent years, the Arctic has truly become the focus point for the international community, attracting attention from all over the world. And we now know that the Arctic is warming 3 times faster than the rest of the world, and environmental changes in the region affect not only the Arctic population, but a much bigger community worldwide. So we have the immense pleasure and honor to have with us Ambassador of Norway, His Excellency Johan Wiege. I suppose that I pronounce it right way. That will do it with Charlotte Dimmerstrom, Director of International Affairs of the Norwegian Shipowners Association, that I'm sure is already online. So, Excellency, thank you very much for accepting our invitation, and I say that to both. You have been the protagonist of last week's symposium on Arctic Connections, organized in Rome. It was, the title was The Great Challenge of the Arctic, Perspectives and Changes for this Peaceful Cooperation, and it was organized by CEOs. So, without any further ado, you have the floor, and I kindly but firmly invite all speakers to keep their intervention within the 9 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Secretary General Laurence Martin, I guess. Yes, a great pleasure being here, and thank you so much really for inviting me to speak about sustainability at sea, as well as some of the maritime challenges in the Arctic. And a special thanks, of course, to the Festival della Diplomazia and also the Federazione del Mare and Confitarma for inviting me. It's always a pleasure to talk about the sea. And before I dive into the Arctic, and you're quite right, we had a seminar on this last week, which was very interesting, drawing up also some of the new challenges that have arisen in the new geopolitical situation we are in. But before I dive into that, I would like just to say a few words about Norway as a leading ocean nation, because this explains a bit why we are involved in these issues. And as you may know, our coastline is one of the longest in the world, and the marine areas we manage are more than 5 times as large as the land area, actually. And thousands of Norwegians spend their workdays in one of the ocean industries within the oil and gas, maritime, and seafood sectors. And these industries are so large that they account for nearly 70% of Norwegian export earnings. Well, most of you have obviously heard about oil and gas production, and actually for Italy we have increased our exports recently from 3% to 11% due to the shortages in Europe in general. And Norway is also one of the largest shipping nations, and we are the world's second largest exporter of fish and seafood. So the sea is definitely fundamental for us. And for this very reason, Norway is also aimed to be an international leader in ocean management, and we are the co-founder at what's called a high-level ocean panel. And this high-level ocean panel is an important initiative launched by Norway to achieve sustainable ocean management worldwide. It was established in 2018 and comprises heads of state and government from 14 countries, co-chaired by the Norwegian Prime Minister and the President of Palau. The countries represented on the high-level panel, they have announced their commitment to sustainably manage 100% of the ocean areas under their national jurisdiction by 2025. And this management issue is extremely important. I know also there is a EU directive on that, but there are still a lot of work to do in Europe on this matter. So this management commitment, it will mean that close to 40% of the world's coastlines and 30% of all exclusive economic zones will be covered by integrated management plans. The panel also recognizes the key role of the oceans in climate-related efforts aimed at reducing greenhouse gases emissions, and will take advantage of the upcoming COP27 to further place this on the international climate agenda. And here I move into shipping and sustainability, because as you may know, shipping is responsible for approximately 3%, I believe, of global CO2 emissions. And one of the pillars of the high-level ocean panel is greening the shipping industry. And actually, on November 6th this year at COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh, the United States and Norway will be launching a Green Shipping Challenge. This initiative encourages governments, ports, maritime carriers, cargo owners, and others in the shipping value chain to come forward with concrete steps that will help put the international shipping sector on a credible pathway this decade towards full decarbonization no later than 2050. These could include, for example, steps to produce zero-emission fuels, develop zero-emission bunkering and recharging capabilities, deploy low or zero-emission vessels, and create or provide financial and technical support for green shipping corridors. So I would say this is a very strong call to the industry as such that needs to be followed up. Italy is not part of the ocean panel, but as great maritime nations, we have a lot of common interests in the green maritime area. Let me only mention a few of them. Norway and Italy are the 2 European nations with the highest number of ferries. This is obviously due to our long coast and number of islands. And Norway is rapidly transforming its ferries into a more sustainable fleet. 40% of the world's electric ferries navigate now in Norwegian waters. The development has been achieved by setting sustainability as a precondition for a government license to run the routes, as well as public financial support. And like Italy, we have many ferry destinations that require propulsion systems for longer hauls. And some of the first hydrogen ferries will be ready by 2024. There is also a lot of research and development going on with ammonia as a potential low-emission fuel. To mention like a concrete example, I would mention that the Norwegian fertilizer company Yara, which is also present in Italy, they have teamed up with Kongsberg Maritime and the Vord Group, which is owned by Fincantieri, to build the world's first autonomous zero-emission container vessel. It was put into commercial operation this spring, and the vessel named Yara Birkeland transports fertilizers from Yara's production plant in Porsgrunn to the regional export hub in Brevik. With this vessel, Yara removed 40,000 diesel-powered truck journeys every year, and this reduces obviously both NOx and CO2 emissions. And this is an example of the solutions and developments that are necessary for Norway and Italy, both to reduce emissions and to keep our position as important global maritime players. New vessels with a lifespan of more than 30 years have to be climate friendly and built with a clear understanding that stricter emission standards are expected to move forward. Italy is a hub in the Mediterranean and has an impressive port system. Norway has long experience in adapting port facilities to less contaminating fuels like LNG or electricity, and is strongly involved in the production and distribution of hydrogen with a view to the future. This is another example where I think we could cooperate more. Italy and Norway are also embarking on important offshore wind developments. The development of this energy source will be vital if Italy is to reach energy security and the Fit for 55 goals. Norway aims to be a close partner to Italy and Europe, both through cooperation in developing projects and also through our experienced offshore technology and supply companies. So I really believe we should work together, and the Norwegian Embassy is aiming to organize a Green Maritime Conference in 2023, bringing together businesses, ports, scientists, and authorities to share experience and identify potential areas of cooperation. So now, let me move into the sustainable Arctic routes, because I've been asked to address that topic particularly. And Norway has a long history of shipping in the Arctic, and we continue developing our position as a leading responsible maritime actor in this region. Traditionally, actually, more than 80% of maritime traffic north of the Arctic Circle passes through Norwegian waters. As both a flag state and a coastal state, Norway has a special responsibility for facilitating safe, sustainable maritime transport in the vulnerable Arctic environment, maintaining a presence in the area and ensuring the necessary situational awareness. A mantra we Norwegians have used for many years when talking about the Arctic is high north, low tension. This is still our ambition, even today with the new geopolitical situation. And over the years, we have established effective forums for multilateral cooperation in the Arctic, such as the Arctic Council. We also put in place a sound legal framework based on the law of the sea. So we believe the Arctic is a well-regulated region. The UN Convention on Law of the Sea constitutes the legal framework for all sea areas, including the Arctic waters. The 5 coastal states bordering on the central Arctic Ocean agree on this, and there is a broad international support for this view. The convention also regulates maritime transport, supplemented by conventions adopted by the International Maritime Organization. And I believe Charlotte will speak more about this in her intervention later. But, however, after Russia's brutal invasion of Ukraine, we are required to increase our vigilance in this area, nationally and with our NATO allies. And we are very grateful, actually, for the support we have gotten, especially in the North Sea lately, after what has been perceived as potential threats towards the distribution network of gas to Europe. The government is also boosting our defense capabilities and military presence in northern and Arctic waters. At the same time, we want to maintain predictability. This was extremely important during the whole Cold War, and we want to maintain that, obviously. So no surprises in this area. There is still also some ongoing cooperation with Russia, bilaterally, on fisheries management, which is extremely important in this area, and also on search and rescue, which can never also be left aside. So where do we stand now with regard to cooperation in the Arctic after the Russian invasion? Uncertainty and inability to do business as usual with Russia as an Arctic state and neighbor makes it even more important to maintain existing platforms for discussion of Arctic issues, such as the Arctic Council. Actually, in April-May next year, Norway will take over the leadership in the Arctic Council from Russia. The work of the Council was paused after Russia's invasion of Ukraine. However, project activities not involving Russia have now been resumed. Although much is uncertain at the moment, we continue our preparations for this chairmanship. It will definitely be a different leadership than that we had anticipated. The leadership program will be launched early next year. The main priorities will revolve around climate, environment, oceans, people in the north, and sustainable resource management. A key goal will also be to preserve the Arctic Council itself as the prominent forum for Arctic issues. A prolonged break in the Council's work is not in our interest. We therefore continue our very close discussions with the Nordic countries, US, and Canada on the way forward. We recognize that Russia, as the largest Arctic country, has a natural place in the Council, but at the same time, seeking the reintegration of Russia under the current regime is not possible. In this situation, obviously, the Northeast Passage potential remains uncertain. The war initiated by Russia and the ensuing sanctions has thrown the Russian ambitions in the Arctic, both as an LNG provider and as an avenue for maritime traffic, into doubt. Commercial use of the Northeast Passage always depended on a number of factors, including weather conditions, insurance costs, and the requirements relating to icebreaker services. Thus far, the number of vessels transiting the entire Northeast Passage between a European and an Asian port has been very limited. Just a few words here also to finalize this, that it's very important to keep enhancing the preparedness and monitoring in the high north, not, mainly because of also the climate changes that you were referring to. And Norway also has a clear responsibility to maintain a presence in Norwegian waters and to develop both monitoring and emergency preparedness and response systems. The Coast Guard plays a vital part in the exercise of sovereignty and authority and in preparedness and response. Effective monitoring and our presence in the area ensure that we have a good overview and an adequate response capacity. The limited cooperation with Russia is, however, a complicating factor. Article 234 of the Convention of the Law of the Sea authorizes coastal states to adopt and enforce rules to prevent, reduce, and control marine pollution from vessels in ice-covered areas, particularly in the Arctic waters. Norway has been a driving force for the adoption of the Polar Code from 2017, a mandatory international code of safety for ships operating in polar waters. The code sets more stringent safety and environmental standards for ships operating in the polar regions. The Arctic Council plays a vital role in further developing circumpolar cooperation on marine oil pollution preparedness and response and on search and rescue. More attention is now also turned towards shipping, particularly cruise tourism. Consequently, we believe it's very important now to keep up the good work at the Arctic Council. So I think I'll end it there, and thank you so much. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, His Excellency, for these very inspiring remarks and insight on the next initiatives that you mentioned, in particular the one that is going to be presented in within the COP27 on clean shipping challenges. We will need much more time to discuss what you and to digest and to analyze what you have said, but I think it's high time also now to connect with Oslo. Online we have Charlotte Demers Ström. I don't know, Charlotte, if I pronounce your name correctly. You are the International Affairs Director of the Norwegian Shipowners Association, and I have the privilege to work with you, to collaborate with you within EXA and ICS. So I think that, I suppose that the ambassador of Norway in Italy gave you some good, let's say, steps in order to develop what your remarks, and we are all eager to hear from you. Charlotte, you have the floor. Charlotte, we have a problem with the audio.
Oh.
Perfect.
Can't you hear me?
Sound clear. Thank you.
Should I repeat? Do you hear me in Rome?
That is perfect now. You can start from the start. Thank you.
Okay. I try again. Thank you, Laurence. It's great to see you again. And good afternoon, everyone. Ambassador Vide, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. I wish I were there at the, in this beautiful venue of yours. Well, nevertheless, Thai teams participation has become the new normal, for the benefit of time and climate maybe, but yet at the cost of real handshakes with you in Rome. Yes, I believe many of my messages, most of them actually, will be echoing the ambassador's messages, but I believe that is a great reflection of a common approach to the Arctic and the shipping industry. I have prepared some messages I'd like to share with you right now. First of all, let me introduce you to the Norwegian Shipowners Association. We represent approximately 140 shipping companies. They own or operate in total approximately 1,700 vessels and make calls to all ports of the world. Measured in value, Norway ranks as the world's 5th largest shipping fleet, so quite a big maritime nation, I'd say, in all modesty. A particularity of our membership's fleet is indeed its diversity. We do not have oil tank carriers or container vessels only, but a wide range of different types of highly advanced vessels. Did you know, for example, that almost every second car or rolling material on the planet has been shipped by one of our members' vessels? A fun fact, I'd say. Or that Norway holds the world's 2nd largest offshore fleet. And in the increasingly important renewable sector, it may be worth mentioning that a Norwegian shipping company has installed 100% of the offshore wind turbines in the US and holds a 20% global market share. So quite impressive numbers. When it comes to the Arctic, I'd say that shipping has been the lifeblood of northern communities for generations, and a modern maritime industry can help unlock significant business opportunities. 3 areas of particular interest in the Arctic are: first, offshore oil and gas services; secondly, intra-regional transport; and finally, trans-Arctic sailings. The latter, that is the Northeast Passage, the latter very often generates most attention and interest. However, this is the least relevant business opportunity in the Arctic for the international shipping industry. For the maritime industry and Norwegian ship owners, the Arctic is a region where we used to have expectations for increased activity. However, the dramatic attack on Ukraine by President Putin paints a dark shadow over Europe and global geopolitics. The attack and still ongoing war also had an immediate effect on the shipping community's business presence and opportunities in the region. Due to widely imposed sanctions regimes, the international shipping industry fully supports, and for ethical reasons, doing business with Russian-listed entities has become a definite no-go. In other words, the business presence has severely dropped, while military attention for the region and its presence seem to have increased throughout the last years, and maybe the last year in particular. Independently, or I'd say perhaps because of the worrying global situation and global crisis in plural, multilateral cooperation and dialogue is more important than ever. This principle is also valid for the development of the Arctic region. The Arctic Council plays an important role in providing a platform for dialogue and cooperation in developing the Arctic region. It is the only circumpolar body for political cooperation at government level. We are therefore pleased to note that important project activities without Russia have resumed in the Arctic Council, as mentioned by Ambassador Wiede, and we look forward to Norway taking over the chairship next year. The International Chambers of Shipping's application for observership at the Arctic Council is a clear confirmation of the industry's support for Arctic Council. Furthermore, cooperation and close dialogue between Arctic states and the business community is key when developing the Arctic region. The Arctic Economic Council facilitates such a dialogue. As far as Arctic shipping is concerned, issues that are related to ship safety, environmental protection, or other shipping matters in the region should be addressed internationally through IMO. The finalization and the entry into force of the Polar Code, also mentioned by Ambassador Wiede some years ago, marked an historically important regulatory step for the Arctic region and the shipping industry. The industry's development of guidelines serves as a useful add-on to the Polar Code. Sustainable development in the Arctic must be focused on investments in infrastructure and involvement of local communities. A key piece for the maritime industry has been strengthening ties with Arctic research and educational institutions and focusing on the region's advantages, including Arctic competence and technology. Investments in situational awareness in the region with satellite can improve connectivity, environmental protection, and search and rescue capabilities. Search and rescue capabilities and other infrastructure must indeed be strengthened when, we don't know when, but when vessel traffic will pick up again sometime in the future. These efforts require international cooperation attuned to local needs. Knowledge-based and balanced development of this particularly vulnerable region is fundamental. Sustainability at Sea is the title of today's conference. Climate change is visible and felt in the Arctic, but the source of Arctic climate change is global. As a very last remark, I'd therefore like to briefly mention our climate strategy. If we are to solve the current climate crisis, we need to develop new green technology to decarbonize shipping. Done in the right way, we believe that such technology could dramatically reduce CO2 emissions while at the same time creating new green jobs and business opportunities. Our industry is serious about this change, and some years ago, the Norwegian Shipowners Association launched its new climate strategy. Our goal is for the entire Norwegian foreign-going fleet to be climate neutral by 2050, and from 2030, our members aim to only order vessels based on zero-emission technology. And our members will cut their greenhouse gas emissions by 50% per transported unit by 2030. These goals make the rest of this decade a decade of transition. To conclude, it is our clear understanding that the Arctic is regulated by a well-balanced global framework where close cooperation between relevant stakeholders prevail. Through its ambitious climate commitments, the Norwegian Shipowners Association looks forward to contributing to the sustainable development of the region. Thank you, Laurence, and thank you, everyone. I hope you could hear me. I'm sorry that I'm digital here in Oslo.
Thank you to you, Charlotte, for this, again, very inspiring, more than statement and remarks. I think your message is quite clear. Decarbonization is underway, and the climate change challenges towards zero carbon and zero carbon industry is also underway. And I know personally how much the Norwegian association, Shipowners Association, within EXA and ICS have been, how much they have been proactive in convincing all that this could be done now. So thank you again for your intervention. As I was saying, we will need much more time to digest all these things that you have been saying, initiatives that the shipowners are doing. But I'm sure we will have many other opportunities to be together and to talk about these important issues. You will be also in Egypt on COP 27, and I wish the Norwegian delegation, both governmental and stakeholders, together with the rest of the world, a very successful meeting for the future of the planet. So thank you again. And without any further ado, let's turn to the second duet in agenda this afternoon, ship recycling, from sustainable ship recycling to green ships recycling. Initially, we should have had with us Mr. Mohammed Jassim Uddin, the economic and political and counselor of the Embassy of Bangladesh, that much of his regret is not able to join us with us today. But Mrs. Fanny Lossi, Director of Safety and Environmental Policy in Brussels, is online with us today. And Fanny, the process of I think all those who are listening to us know what the process of dismantling or scrapping is. That is, you know, the process, as I was saying, of scrapping the parts of an old or useless ship for the purpose of reuse. These, let's say, activity has been recently, let's say, last decade, enshrined in EU legislation. Please tell us exactly what these regulations, because we are talking about the ship recycling regulation, the famous SRR, is talking about. What are the duties of the shipowners, not only the EU shipowners, but all those calling EU ports, and what are the main concern concerning the, let's say, the shipbuilding capacity that is, as far as I know, is a little bit missing worldwide. Fanny, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Laurence, and thank you for the opportunity to be here today. EXA, the European Shipowner Association, represents 19 national associations from the EU member states and from Norway, and Confindharma is one of our members. We are based in Brussels, at the heart of the policy-making process, and we represent EU shipowners on a number of topics, including ship recycling. The shipping industry is committed to improving the condition for ship recycling in order to ensure that the ships are recycled in a safe manner, but with no risk for health or the environment. And EXA welcomes the effort of the European Commission and the European member states to ensure safe and environmental sound ship recycling practices and standards. And we also welcome their effort for the ratification and entry into force of the Hong Kong Convention. At the international level, the ratification of the Hong Kong Convention is crucial because it will give us a level playing field and international standards regarding ship recycling. At the EU level, as you mentioned, Laurence, there is the ship recycling regulation that sets the rules for ship recycling, but also an EU list of recycling facilities where vessels should be recycled. And we believe as EXA that the Commission should keep on assessing the ship recycling facility coming from outside of the OECD countries to check the progress and include them in the EU ship recycling list as soon as they comply. But the Commission should also assess the current and the future need for recycling of the EU fleet to make sure that the EU list matches this need. As you said, there is currently a limited capacity for recycling, especially for large ship seagoing vessels, because the EU list is limited, the number of yards is very, very limited, and the capacity is currently mostly used for construction, retrofitting, but also recycling of smaller vessels, such as fishing vessel or inland navigation. And we also know that in the coming decade, a number of oil and gas platforms will be decommissioned in the EU waters, and that they will go to those EU yards, limiting even further the capacity for large ship vessels. The current yard also have a limitation in terms of length and draft of the vessel that can be recycled there. We have also seen that the capacity is currently used mostly by non-EU flagged ship. Large cruise vessels, for example, are being recycled now in the biggest Turkish yard, limiting even further the capacity and the possibility for the EU fleet to be recycled there. So to conclude, in a nutshell, we are promoting sustainable ship recycling and supporting the development and ratification of the Hong Kong Convention to ensure a global playing field for all ship owners, but also the workers and the yards. We're also supporting the development in Southeast Asia, notably in Bangladesh and India, to make sure that the yards there are recognized and added to the list as soon as they comply with the EU standards. We believe that a global perspective is needed because we need a holistic approach in the interest of all the stakeholders and the local economy to ensure that ship recycling is made in a sustainable manner. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Fanny. Thank you, Fanny, to set the scene at AU level. Thank you very much. I think that even if we don't have Bangladesh around the table, because Bangladesh was quite important, because in the world, 92% of all shipbreaking, and you were saying that, Fanny, takes place in Asian countries like Bangladesh, India, Pakistan, and Turkey. But around this table, we have the pleasure also to have with us the representative of the Embassy of China. The Second Secretary, Mr. Li Bo, is here. China is also a ship recycling country, but with quite high level of ship, let's say, level of ambition, but also of ship recycling facilities. So if you have any questions or remarks, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Give me opportunity to ask some questions for the ship recycling. In my opinion, Bangladesh is the biggest ship breaking country in the world, and I see some videos on the YouTube. The workers there are very, is working hard, and they are healthy, and the sea environment is polluted right now already. So I think in this conference or the world, in our cooperation, do we have some method to help them? Because I know in China, our government, President Xi gave the One Road, One Belt initiation that we gave the construction to the Southeast China and especially Bangladesh, some developing countries. We gave most of the instruction there and help them to develop their economy. And so I want to know the Western countries, do you have some method or cooperation to help them to develop their life more good? Just this. I'm focused on the shipbreaking workers in Bangladesh or in India, some places, because the pollution for the shipbreaking is so large. Yes, we can see the videos on the YouTube or other media. It's very hard and very dangerous for the workers. Just this, yeah. Have any method?
No, thank you very much. I think what you said is it's true in that, and I think I will leave the floor, of course, to Fanny to answer you back. But when addressing this issue at EU level, it was quite evident that we have to find the right articulation between the social and the environmental dimension of ship recycling, having in front of us most of the ASEAN countries with very low, let's say, performance concerning social, let's say, criteria. But Fanny, if you want to answer, because I know that EXA has been very proactive on this question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much for the question. Indeed, EXA, we are working at the EU level, but some of our national members or some companies have invested a lot in Southeast Asia to help the yard develop and try to reach the EU standards. Some of the yards in India, for example, are very close to get to the EU list because they meet most of the requirements. So you can see there that there is an improvement of the standards and of the way of recycling. Some of our members also did some visits, whether in Bangladesh or Indian yards, again to keep the dialogue between the yards and the ship owners, but also with the public authorities there. So there is a number of initiatives ongoing to make sure that the South Asian yards are improving the standards so that they can match the EU standards and be added to the EU list of ship recycling facilities in order to for our vessel to be recycled there.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Are you satisfied with that first answer? But of course, on ship recycling, as we were talking before, at the margin of this, let's say, round table, I think we will need much more time to address all these issues, and I'm sure it will be done within the Festival of the Diplomacy or within the ship owners, let's say, and the maritime industries, let's say, discussions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you again, Fanny, for being with us this afternoon, and to you, Mr.
Lee.
Mr. Bo. Thank you.
Thank you.
So anche da noi passiamo alla lingua italiana per parlare di quello che è stato al centro della nostra attenzione per un anno, finché grazie alla volontà, alla passione che è stata messa in questa impresa dalla presidente di Mari Vivo, che non ha bisogno di presentazione, ma anche dal direttore generale di Federpesca, Francesca Biondo, siamo arrivati a maggio con l'adozione di questa legge Salvamare. Anche lì sarò molto breve. Abbiamo una legge, abbiamo un bel foglio di carta e delle dichiarazioni di intenti, abbiamo dei comandamenti, però ora bisogna tradurre questa legge in azione concreta. Rosalba, Francesca, qual è la vostra visione, strategia e piano di azione? Grazie.
Vorrei far partire un video piccolissimo, per inquadrare il problema, perché ci siamo dati tanto da fare per questa legge. Guardate un attimino. Va. poche immagini, ma che danno la misura del grande problema del mondo. Mi dispiace non parlare inglese. I hope you understand me with the eyes, with my passion, con la mia passione. Poche immagini che ci dicono che noi dobbiamo fare qualcosa, tutti insieme, subito. E allora abbiamo cominciato in Italia a chiedere una legge. Una legge ci abbiamo messo 4 anni. Al Senato, alla Camera, al Senato, finalmente l'11 maggio siamo riusciti ad avere la legge Salvamare, ma purtroppo i decreti attuativi ancora non sono pronti. Vi assicuro che siamo come, non so, sul collo di tutti quelli che lo devono fare, ma ancora ci vuole tempo. Eppure siamo in un momento storico, la pandemia ci ha portato ancora più plastica, ancora più rifiuti, la guerra ancora peggio, e quindi si sembra di andare indietro invece che andare in avanti. Però io voglio dire una cosa, che questa legge è stata voluta, sì, da Mare Vivo, ma è stata sostenuta in maniera proprio forte dalla Federazione del Mare, all'Assonave, all'Assoporti, alla Confindustria, alla Nautica, alla Confitarma, alla Federpesca, la Lega Navale, la Lega Italiana Vela, la Stazione Zoologica Anton Dorn e la Grande Onda. Quindi abbiamo messo insieme tanti soggetti, che non è soltanto un'associazione ambientalista, ma il mondo del mare che chiede questa legge. Bene, l'altro ieri, mentre noi stavamo facendo un convegno a Napoli, molto importante sulla salute del mare di Napoli, abbiamo avuto la buona notizia che è stato fatto il Ministero del Mare, che nel nostro governo mancava da molti anni, giusto comandante? Eravamo senza il mare non c'era, era sparito nel nostro. Quindi, allora, la grande speranza è che questa legge, che cosa prevede? Prevede che i pescatori possono riportare i rifiuti a terra, quelli che hanno trovato nelle reti, possono riportarli a terra. Adesso se lo fanno è illecito, è trasporto illecito di rifiuti, giusto? Quindi li ributtano a mare, perché come fanno? Ci sono dei pilota, ci sono delle azioni che vengono fatte a macchia di leopardo, qualcuno lo fa volontariamente perché il comune è d'accordo, perché il porto è d'accordo, ma qui esiste una legge. Ma molto importante in questa legge sono alcuni emendamenti che abbiamo preparato noi, quella dei fiumi, perché voi sapete che l'80% della plastica che arriva nel mare arriva attraverso i fiumi. E allora in questa legge c'è un'indicazione di mettere degli sbarramenti, dei sistemi di raccolta di rifiuti prima che entrino nel mare. Quindi questo è un modo anche di arrestare questa cosa. E poi ci sono tante altre cose, c'è l'educazione che è molto importante, la sensibilizzazione, le grandi campagne, parliamo anche dei dissalatori, che sono un altro oggetto importantissimo per la sopravvivenza della nostra specie su questo pianeta quando non ci sta più acqua, quello che sta succedendo. E poi devo dire che obiettivamente c'è proprio una presa di coscienza da parte di tante organizzazioni. Ora tutto questo è fatto, l'abbiamo portato, ci sono molte cose che avevamo chiesto che non sono state inserite e speriamo di inserirle in altre leggi, tipo quella delle reste dei mitilicoltori, che ne troviamo una marea sott'acqua, quindi dobbiamo trovare un sistema giusto, Francesca, dobbiamo trovare un sistema che queste retine non finiscono più in mare. E poi abbiamo anche un discorso delle cassette sicuramente, ma abbiamo anche le cassette di polistirolo, tutto quel materiale della pesca che non è degradabile e che purtroppo si perde in mare, perché in mare si perdono tante cose. Pensate che una cassetta di polistirolo produce 1 milione di microplastiche, 1 milione, una cassetta. Capite che veramente dobbiamo correre e con l'aiuto di tutti quanti lo stiamo cercando di portare avanti attraverso le leggi, perché possiamo fare la sensibilizzazione, le grandi campagne, le manifestazioni, ma se c'è una regola, la regola viene seguita da tutti quanti. E ci auguriamo anche, siccome l'Italia è un po' al centro del Mediterraneo, no? Ha anche un ruolo importante nel Mediterraneo, siamo un po' la piattaforma di Europa e anche verso il Nord Africa, che tutto questo poi diventi anche delle leggi che vengano condivise dagli altri stati del Mediterraneo e non solo. Quindi è un bel impegno, ma che lo dobbiamo assolutamente portare avanti. Io credo che poi darò lo spazio a Francesca in modo che parliamo in due di questa storia. Questa è una bella storia perché ci ha messo insieme, perché l'abbiamo vinta. Ora manca un pezzettino così per proprio vederla concretamente effettiva, con la Guardia Costiera che è sempre vicino, che può controllare, che può vedere, ma se non c'è la regola non possiamo avere il controllo. E quindi io dico sempre avanti tutta, e qui ci sono molti ship owner, io sono di una famiglia di armatori napoletani e quindi capisco tantissimo il tema della nautica, del trasporto marittimo, e anche lì c'è tantissimo da fare, abbiamo tante idee, quindi lavoriamo tutti insieme. Ma sapete perché? Perché il nostro futuro dipende dalla salute del mare, ma la salute del mare dipende purtroppo dalle nostre azioni. Quindi avanti tutta, grazie.
Un appello accorato che è stato sentito chiaro e forte. Francesca.
Thank you very much, Laurence. Thank you for this invitation. And we are very proud of being part of Federazione del Mare and be partner of Diplomacy Festival. My intervention is about how the fishery sector can contribute to the goal of sustainability and in particular how to fight the problem of marine litter. So now I'm sorry, but I switched to Italian so I can interact with my friend Rosalba, che ringrazio, e lo hai detto molto bene all'inizio di questo tuo intervento. Io sono molto contenta perché una battaglia che per troppi anni in Italia ha visto i settori produttivi, primi tra tutti ovviamente anche il settore della pesca e le associazioni che si occupano di salvaguardia e tutela del mare come Mare Vivo, su due fronti opposti, e questo non ha fatto altro che allontanare l'obiettivo appunto di avere una regolamentazione e un impegno comune su questo fronte. Grazie al lavoro che abbiamo fatto insieme, grazie alla Federazione del Mare, siamo riusciti a non solo a fare un lavoro trasversale tra tutti i settori produttivi che operano sul mare e che quindi hanno una responsabilità più degli altri nella tutela di questo ecosistema e di questo bene comune, ma anche appunto con le associazioni come Mare Vivo, proprio a dimostrazione del fatto che l'impegno è di tutti e in prima battuta di chi appunto opera e ama e lavora sul mare quotidianamente. Un piccolo passaggio su quello che diceva Rosalba, giustamente il nostro settore è molto contento finalmente di avere questa legge in Italia, perché prima di questa legge se ne è parlato molto, abbiamo fatto anche noi delle audizioni alle commissioni di Camera e Senato. Gli operatori della pesca che recuperavano anche accidentalmente, quindi non diciamo per un'attività di volontariato ma accidentalmente all'interno delle proprie reti dei rifiuti dal mare, erano considerati dal punto di vista civile e penale produttori di quel rifiuto. È come se noi a Piazza Venezia incontrassimo un operatore ecologico e gli facessimo una multa perché ha buttato quella carta a terra, in realtà la sta recuperando perché qualcun altro l'ha lasciata lì. Quando facciamo questo paragone capiamo il paradosso di una normativa nella quale gli operatori della pesca hanno dovuto vivere e operare in questi anni in Italia e che appunto ha portato anche invece a disincentivare un'azione attiva di questo settore nel recupero. Lo si faceva, abbiamo fatto tanti progetti in questi anni anche grazie ai finanziamenti europei, ma come ricordavi giustamente tu, solamente con la buona volontà di amministrazioni comunali, autorità portuali, capitanerie di porto, operatori del settore che si prendevano un pezzo di responsabilità in più rispetto a quello che la normativa già prevedeva. Oggi finalmente con questa legge si può fare e quindi ancora di più il settore della pesca si sente responsabilizzato a questo, è un ruolo che finalmente è riconosciuto e che al netto di alcuni articoli della legge che parlano anche di incentivi di carattere economico o di riduzione di altri tipi di sanzioni, non è una questione, ci tengo a dirlo, non è una questione di integrazione del reddito del pescatore, perché questo settore ha tutto l'interesse a collaborare per la pulizia dei mari, non solo per una questione etica, ma per una questione economica e sociale, perché in quell'ambiente si deve poter continuare a vivere, a lavorare e a dare lavoro, ma finalmente viene riconosciuto questo ruolo. C'è oggi rispetto alla questione dei decreti attuativi un tema fondamentale sul quale io credo che il nostro mondo debba continuare ad unirsi ed andare avanti, che è il tema di, una volta che appunto le nostre imprese recuperano questo rifiuto, come e dove viene stoccato e smaltito, perché ad oggi i nostri porti non hanno le infrastrutture, nonché anche i finanziamenti per poter accogliere quel rifiuto, e quindi quello che dobbiamo evitare è che proviamo a risolvere un problema a mare e lo portiamo a terra e riempiamo i porti di rifiuti senza che poi si riesca a conferirli e smaltirli nel migliore dei modi. Su questo sarebbe interessante fare anche una mappatura di tutte quelle che sono le infrastrutture portuali, anche dei porti pescherecci, per capire come sono e se sono in grado, perché per la maggior parte delle volte la risposta purtroppo è no, di accogliere e poi conferire questo rifiuto. E un altro tema sul quale esula un po' dal mio ruolo di direttore di Federpesca, ma che credo che sia un tema che coinvolge i cittadini italiani rispetto a questa legge, è che in questi decreti attuativi non è chiaro chi pagherà il costo dello smaltimento di questi rifiuti, che appunto ancora di più dei rifiuti che noi troviamo a terra, perché è chiaro che potremmo aprire un capitolo su è giusto che i cittadini di Roma paghino la bolletta della Tari anche per tutti i milioni di turisti, ma in mare questa questione è chiaramente ancora più macroscopica, perché un rifiuto che peschiamo nel porto di Fiumicino probabilmente non è prodotto da un residente di Fiumicino, forse neanche di Roma e forse neanche di Genova, ma appunto può venire dal Marocco, dalla Spagna o anche da più lontano. E allora come almeno a livello italiano noi riusciamo a garantire che ci sia una perequazione di questi maggiori costi che non ricadano esclusivamente sui residenti dei comuni costieri, perché questa sarebbe una disuguaglianza. E altre due questioni su cui mi ha sollecitata Rosalba e su cui rispondo volentieri. Ovviamente noi ci siamo posti il tema di come ridurre anche l'impatto invece diretto che ha il settore della pesca sul tema delle plastiche in mare, quindi innanzitutto lo ricordavi bene tu, il tema delle cassette di polistirolo, che pur avendo delle caratteristiche che mantengono la freschezza del pesce non possono più essere la risposta, perché appunto se ne trovano molte in mare, a volte non neanche gettate con volontà, ma perché volano e non possiamo più permetterci questa pratica. Noi ad esempio abbiamo appena fatto un investimento molto importante nel mercato ittico di Ancona e abbiamo acquistato 74.000 cassette in plastica riciclate e quindi riutilizzabile, proprio per mano a mano andare a escludere l'utilizzo di cassette di polistirolo, così come c'è un tema sul quale dobbiamo lavorare insieme di smaltimento e riuso delle reti da pesca, che ad oggi restano un costo esclusivamente a carico delle imprese, il cui smaltimento è molto complicato e oneroso, anche perché parliamo anche di molte tonnellate a volte, oppure quando si incagliano in mare, diciamo, trovare delle modalità per cui si riescono, diciamo, a recuperare. Questo, diciamo, lo diceva il video prima, è finito il tempo, diciamo, delle divisioni, delle colpe reciproche. Siamo ad un livello di disastro ambientale che o ci diamo la mano e andiamo nella stessa direzione, oppure, diciamo, tra poco non ne parleremo neanche più. Lo diceva il video, tutti siamo chiamati ad agire, e allora forse su questo dobbiamo rilanciare una proposta che diciamo, noi come Federpesca avevamo fatto ad inizio del 2019, poi il Covid ha sconvolto qualsiasi pianificazione, che era un'alleanza del Mediterraneo per la raccolta dei rifiuti dal mare, proprio perché, come dicevi giustamente tu, intanto cominciamo dalle regolamentazioni nazionali per passare a quelle europee, ma chiaramente noi abbiamo una ricchezza che è anche una responsabilità, ovvero che operiamo in un bene comune qual è il mare, in un bacino qual è quello del Mediterraneo, e quindi inevitabilmente dobbiamo trovare delle modalità di corresponsabilità tra tutti i paesi che affacciano sul Mediterraneo, e credo che, diciamo, questo deve essere l'impegno della Federazione del Mare, del Festival della Diplomazia, per ritrovarci qui tra un anno e dirci che abbiamo fatto altri passi avanti. Grazie.
Che cosa vuol dire due donne concrete?
No, guarda, bravissima. Difatti bisogna lavorare in sinergia e andare avanti. No, io volevo dire due cose. Allora, 2 emendamenti noi avevamo proposto in questa legge, dove speriamo invece di portarla in una prossima. Una che adesso vi farà ridere, che è il volo dei palloncini. I palloncini che vengono lanciati in aria come un simbolo di bellezza oppure di tristezza, perché ci sono i funerali con i palloncini bianchi, eccetera, è plastica che va nel cielo, poi torna a mare e succede quello che succede con gli animali, e poi entra nel nostro corpo, avete visto, nei tessuti della placenta delle donne, nel sangue, nel latte materno. Quindi questo è un altro punto molto forte su questo discorso della plastica, sono le microfibre. I tessuti che hanno sistemi, sono sintetici e che purtroppo finiscono in mare, è un danno invisibile, ma forse più dannoso delle cassette di polistirolo, della plastica, di tutto, perché veramente è terribile. Anche questo nella legge Salvamare noi l'avevamo previsto per fare un'etichettatura degli abiti, per dare un segnale di che come bisogna regolarsi, come lavarli, come fare, perché anche questo. Quindi questi 2 emendamenti noi li riporteremo nella prossima possibilità, farli entrare in un'altra legge, perché non è sufficiente questa legge Salvamare. Comunque vi ringrazio tantissimo, scusatemi che non parlo inglese e sono mortificata.
Sentire, se è una legge italiana, un impegno italiano, è bene che sia stato enunciato, espresso in lingua italiana. Grazie a voi tutte e due. Vorrei, prima di concludere, per rispondere a te, Francesca, su quello che può fare la Federazione del Mare, mi sono venute un po' di idee, ma beh, non le abbiamo già diciamo, condivisi prima. La Federazione del Mare, l'Italian Maritime Cluster, fa parte dell'ENMC, European Network of Maritime Cluster, che raggruppa tutti i cluster europei. La plastica è una delle priorità che è stata elencata nelle azioni da compiere nel quadro di questa agenda sulla Blue Economy. Non penso che sia abbastanza facile per noi fare una mobilitazione generale per il Mediterraneo, coinvolgendo in particolare i cluster portoghesi, cioè il West Med e l'East Med su questo. Poi, molto brevemente, la plastica fa parte anche delle azioni prioritarie dall'Unione per il Mediterraneo, che si è già impegnato in azione concreta, e dalla West Med Initiative, che insieme a tutti i paesi i 5 paesi che coinvolge i 5 paesi della sponda nord del West Med e quelli della sponda sud. Insieme, penso, Francesca, prendiamo l'impegno tutti insieme, perché facciamo tutti parte della Federazione del Mare, che insieme entro fine anno per, diciamo, indicare la strategia e speriamo entro un anno di aver già registrato i primi passi concreti. Grazie a voi per questa testimonianza. Finiamo ora la prima parte di questa tavola rotonda con questi, and I shift to English, with the three duets concerning Arctics, ship recycling and plastic. And now let's move to the fourth insight that we will have on many aspects concerning sustainability. We have four speakers of excellences, two ladies. We have the Coast Guard. We will start first with the Italian Coast Guard, and we will start with you, Lucia Spa. You are from the Italian Coast Guard, Marine Environmental Department of the Ministry of Ecological Transition. And I think that you have a lot to tell us about how you are supporting and controlling the respect of, let's say, sustainability at sea from all these stakeholders, ship owners, but not only. Thank you.
Thank you for your invitation. I'm glad to be here. I'm Lieutenant Commander Lucia Spat. So today I want to briefly illustrate some of our duties related to sustainability at sea. I don't know if... okay. The Italian Coast Guard, created in 1865 as Harbour Master Corps, is both a regulatory administration and a specialized law enforcement agency with a military status. As regards military functions, it's a branch of the Italian Navy. For civilian uses of the sea, Coast Guard is the national maritime authority that depends on Ministry of Sustainable Infrastructure and Mobility and the Ministry of Environment and Energy Security for all the aspects relating to environmental monitoring and pollution prevention. The Italian Coast Guard, carries out its tasks in relation to competencies and functions of various different ministries, and it also collaborates with other state administration as judicial authorities and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation. Maritime safety, security, and governance are the three main set of activities that include the enduring tasks and duties of Italian Coast Guard. They are accomplished by a military and judicial policies in a multi-mission maritime service of roughly 11,000 people, based in more than 280 national harbors and provided on more than 500 naval assets, as well as the large, modern, and well-equipped air component at coverage of an area that is almost double the whole national territory. The Mediterranean Sea is subject to many pressures from human activities, including overexploitation, invasive alien species, pollution, use of non-selective fishery gear, which is leading to the degradation of the habitat and increase in endangered species. The question is, how state maritime function can support sustainability at sea? The Coast Guard ensures the management of anthropic activities with an impact on the sea through the system of maritime controls and actions to combat environmental crimes, such as the safe and efficient transportation of people and goods, carrying out its tasks and duties according to a safe and holistic approach. The Harbour Master performs in the territory a large amount of the administrative, technical, operative, and police duties, and cooperates in major ports with the local port authority, which is a civilian body exclusively devoted to the commercial administration of the port. Maritime safety and the safety of maritime transport and navigation includes activities referred to ship inspection and investigation of maritime casualties. Coast Guard protects the marine environment both through the surveillance activity inside the special marine protected areas and in the control of the correct ship waste management. It coordinates prevention and the response operations to pollution due to accidental oil spill or H&S from ships and offshore activities. In addition, the Coast Guard carries out controls in the field of discharge into surface waters, counteracting land-based pollution, such as industrial activities, urban settlements, implementing judicial police activities to combat environmental crimes and illegal waste trafficking. In concerning the activities of use of the sea related to fishing and to mitigating the pressure of on fish stocks, the Italian Coast Guard General Headquarters is the National Fishing Control Authority and hosts and manages the Fishing Monitoring Center. Furthermore, the Coast Guard offices are in charge of controlling the whole process of fishing products, from the sea to the table, and are responsible for ascertaining any violation to fishing regulation. Last but not least, I want to mention the administrative regulation maritime policy activities performed on maritime state property to ensure compliance with its correct use. I'm going to mention only some of the international agreements for the protection of the sea resource, such as RAMOGE for the protection of the cetacean sanctuary pelagos and the Adriatic Ionian Initiative. I want to thank all the people who engage in these activities every day, and in particular remember the figure of the commander Natale De Grazia, who lost his life investigating the traffic of toxic and radioactive waste. So, for wine.
Thank you very much. And I'm sorry, we have still 3 speakers to go. And as we are running really definitively out of time, I will pass the floor right away to Elena Pastorino. Elena Pastorino, I hope you are online.
Yes.
Yes, indeed.
Hello,
you are
Lorraine.
from Costa Crociere, one of the most distinguished member of the Italian Shipowners Association, Confitarma. You are a sustainability specialist. I know you have been launching 2 important manifestos lately, the Alliance for Circular Economy and another one recently for valuable, sustainable and inclusive tourism. So without any further ado, you have the floor. Thank you. And I will, of course, recommend you to keep your intervention within.
I'll do it. Good afternoon, and it's a pleasure to join this round table. I promise I will stay within the time. What I would like to share with you today is some insights of what sustainable tourism means for Costa, and in particular the manifesto you just mentioned. So our manifesto for a sustainable tourism, and also 2 examples of projects that we are managing and promoting. So 2 concrete examples of our sustainable journey. Costa is a company with over 70 years of history, and we have translated this history devoted to hospitality in our brand new purpose, the good power of travel. So it really expresses Costa's desire to represent the transformative power of traveling. And we have condensated this purpose, our values, our history, and our old and new commitments in our manifesto for a value-driven, sustainable and inclusive tourism. I'll show you a short video and then we come back to comment on it. I don't know if you can share it, or shall I do it? Thanks. So thank you. I could not hear the music, but most important are the concept, and I think they are very bold, very, very clear. And as you have seen, our manifesto summarizes in 10 points the commitment of Costa to define a new way of traveling that is more responsible, attentive to people and to the planet, so that we will able to grow together with the local communities we visit during our journeys, and generating not only economic but also social value as well. The 8th point of the manifesto is we invest in future, and we do it in several ways, and one of these ways is our project Traditions for the Future. Through this project we enhance and protect local identities and communities. How we do it? By supporting 13 internships in Italy, France and Spain. Young men and women work together with a master craftsman in a workshop with the aim of learning a particular art that's disappearing. For example, let's think of the Sicilian puppets art, or the glass art in Murano, or the ceramics in Valencia, and many other. We have 13 of these disappearing arts. So we encourage generational turnover and, of course, the preservation of fragile and unique local identities through this art preservation. The second project I'll share with you is Guardians of the Coast. So the first one was a social project, and Guardians of the Coast is an environmental project. The sea is our element, and with this environmental project we aim at educating young people about the uniqueness and fragility of our coastline. It is a citizen science project, and it is included in school curriculum. So through this project we educate young people and young generation, providing them with scientific instrument and educational resources created by our scientific team. And classes are also asked to go outside the rooms, go outside the schools, and adopt a sketch of the coastline, and to monitor this piece of coastline, to protect this piece of coastline. In this way, young generation, young people feel part and actors of the change. It's a project promoted by Costa Crociere Foundation. It started in 2017, and in these first 5 years of project, more than 20,000 students became guardians of the coast, adopting 1/3 of the Italian coastline. So a really big impact. So these were only 2 examples of concrete actions Costa is putting in place on the topic, on the big topic, sustainable tourism, and will allow, we hope, local communities to flourish. So of course it's a journey. It's a journey we cannot do alone, but we have to do it with local communities, associations, companies, and that's the reason why our manifesto, it's a living document. It's open to be subscribed by local stakeholders. And that's the reason why in our social and environmental projects, we always collaborate with valuable partners, companies, associations, both public and private, that are close to communities, understands the needs of the communities, and can support us generating a valuable and positive impact for them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Elena. Happy to hear that these 10 commandments are being implemented, and I think it was it's good to hear that the cruise sector is moving in the right direction. And I'm sure that with such, let's say, people embarked on board your vessel, you will be able to touch the arm, the spirit of many, many people around the globe. Thank you very much indeed.
We hope so.
Thank you. So now I think let's turn to the most, let's say, technological innovation part of this afternoon. We have really, we have the privilege to have you, to have together with us Fabio Filocamo and Fabrizio Quadrini. I think that you already, oh sorry, you already opened your micro, and without, oh. I think that first I will give the floor to you, Mr. Fabrizio, Mr. Fabio. Okay, no problem. So Fabio Filocamo, you are the one dealing with innovation, with startups, incubator, accelerator, and I think that it is one of the most, let's say, crucial, innovative, let's say, objective of all these blue economy. We have to stimulate research and innovation. So, what is your recipe? Thank you.
Thank you very much. And let me introduce first. I'm here as the CEO of Porto delle Grazie Marina di Roccella Ionica, which is a smart marina. It's not a commercial port, so don't imagine a large port, yet quite a large port in terms of tourism, since it has 500 berths on 3 docks. One of these docks is reserved to institutional activities, including Coast Guard and fishery. Why am I mentioning this? Because this marina is becoming more and more popular for a very sad occasion, actually, because it's the so-called new Lampedusa. It's the major now destination for irregular migrants. We got over 10,000 people saved and brought to the marina over the past 12 months, which is an extra challenge that added up to COVID, made my job really fun. And to say what we did over the past few months, and especially over the past 2 to 3 years, we tried to apply ideas to the field. And why is this? Because my idea coming from the innovation/tech transfer world, where I work since a couple of years in both qualities of entrepreneur and manager, marinas and so ports are small cities or micro cities, depending on the size of the port. And which means they bring about the same issues as any other city or community in the world, starting from energy supply, security, mobility, livability, on water, plus waste treatment and recycling. And so the idea was, since the world of ports is pretty much undervalued and underexploited, was to upgrade and to give a new soul to infrastructure by leveraging the more immaterial and intangible activities we could run over this kind of field. So, thanks to a couple of opportunities that were given by the EU funds, we designed 2 main projects. First one was to build a green port, and actually this 6,000 people town got the first, was ranked first above any other major city, town and port in center and southern Italy. So not exactly something to be taken for granted. And this happened because we designed smart marina just by applying any smart city idea you could put into the field in our marina, including, for example, the main and major issue we have at stake now with the Ukraine invasion, which is energy supply. And our marina is going to be an energy autonomous infrastructure within a couple of years, exploiting just natural resources from sun, which there is quite a lot in deep south of Italy, wind, and sea waves, with onshore system built in a newly built 70 meters long brand new dock. And so first of all, from consuming energy, we will produce energy, and we will provide the marina with everything it needs, and probably also the community around the marina. So we will build an energy community around us. Already now, the marina has only electric vehicles and has electric stations. In another marina, actually, we kind of did better. In Sicily, we have hydrogen stations and hydrogen vans. Here, everything from mopeds, hand mopeds, to cars, it's purely electric. Mopeds, bicycles, tripods, and so on. And we do encourage our clients to use them. And already a number of sensors have been used in devices within the marina. We were the first marina in Italy to use the sea beam, which is something like what Fabrizio is going to talk about, much less sophisticated, but cleans the marine waters from litters with an automatic system. Other major, quite a large number of sensors and devices have been deployed in the marina for security reasons, from protection of the environment from hydrocarbons, for example, or to establish the most advanced weather channel station, and to be in a position to sell services for both institutional uses and tourism and so on. Actually, for us, sustainability is not just a way of market our marina, but it's also a way to build new lines of revenues. And also we built a new eco island for littering, especially from the fishery. We have an ice house that with a closed circuit of water provides ice and prevents the consumption of water. On top of this, with PNRR, the resilience and plan from the EU, Next Generation EU, after the 12 million euro project I've described before, we kind of tried to do better than that with a 27 million project that is supposed to do exactly what you were saying before, Laurence, sustainability, what is social inclusion, environmental protection, and economic viability. And here the social inclusion is one of the most important issues we put at stake, since we are going to build a number of research and development labs inside the marina that will go together with a gymnasium for young kids to learn all the jobs and skills that have to do with the sea. There's a startup incubator and a contamination lab that will bring together all these different generations and communities in one place. And also a fab lab to build plastic spare parts with just a computer and a 3D printer. All this to say that marinas, as any other piece of the sea puzzle, have a role into the sustainability world, and blue economy can be sustainable and actually can also be profitable in the long run, so economic viability. And this goes through education, culture, research, and entrepreneurship all at once. There actually sustainability can be a great opportunity, and it's going to be for us definitely what I just mentioned. We're open to questions and happy to answer any curiosity you may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The questions will be a lot, but I'm afraid Giorgio Bertolomucci is not there, but he will tell me, Laurence, you have really to handle this panel. So I'm really sorry. I think that you will be the next, our next guest at the board of the Italian Maritime Cluster that we are thinking to organize in November. And I think that these projects you just mentioned will, I'm sure, raise a lot of interest and questions. And I think, so without any further, thank you again, but without any further ado, I move now right away to, okay, you prefer? Okay, to take it. Okay, to Fabrizio Quadrini. You are professor of technology.
Of manufacturing technology in
yes.
the University.
Please introduce yourself. Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, as you will see also from my very nice photo in the presentation, I'm full professor in manufacturing technology in the Department of Industrial Engineering of the University of Rome Tor Vergata. And I'm very happy to be here to show one of the outcome of one of our research projects. It refers to the manufacturing of a smart buoy for clean seeing. I take the time because I'm always along when I speak because typically I do lessons, so I never finish. And in this case, the project is about the manufacturing of a buoy for clean sealing. But my research group is involved in many projects in sustainability. I can say from I'm trying to go on. With what? Okay. From space to Earth, because we also have opened the Space Sustainability Center. We have many projects in space. We did several experiments in space, and we are also making other. We have developed, for example, system for the grabbing of solar cell propulsions and so on. This is for sustainability of space. Obviously, most of our studies are on Earth, and we study recycling of difficult to recycle material, from carbon fiber composites to rubbers to PCB, means printed circuit boards in electronics and so on. And one of these projects is about the clean seeing, the sea cleaning, and the idea was designing and manufacturing with the partnership of some factories in our region of this smart buoy. As you can see, there are several parts. In the bottom, there are these tablets into those cavities. These tablets are made of carbon and are able to absorb oil from the marine surface. So it is designed to have a specific, a well-defined water line, because the oil is only on the top of the surface of the sea, and when the oil touches these tablets, immediately is absorbed and can go into the buoy. In fact, if you see on this line, and you can see at the section, in the bottom of this buoy there is a container that takes the oil inside. In this particular prototype, we also put a lot of electronics, because it is the most of, we put all the application inside. It is possible also only to have a passive system. But if you want, for example, you can apply electronics. In this case, we had the GPS, the solar panels to take the energy. We have sensors to measure the water quality and so on. It is also a system to control, because if you put a camera, you can control the place where the buoy is inserted, or it can also work with artificial intelligence, using many buoys that can move in the sea, and after you recover by GPS. There are many possible applications. So the technological core is this tablet made of pyrolytic carbon. So the name of the project was TYREX, because it is the acronym of tire recycling for clean seas, because myself directly, but all my research group has a very long experience in tire recycling. And one of the materials that we can take from recycling tires is this pyrolytic carbon, in particular from pyrolysis. We can extract this carbon that is an oil absorber. This is not, this is already a commercial material. In particular, this kind of material was taken 2 years ago from a factory in Ukraine that started this kind of application. By compression, by means of this material, we do the tablets, and these tablets are very effective in removing oil. This is an experiment in the lab, so there is a small, we prefer not to do in the sea, so there is a small water surface. We put into this water surface a lot of oil, and this small, it was transparent, this small buoy to take the oil inside. After a few hours, you fully remove the entire surface, because the physical concept that we use to attract the oil into the material is the surface tension. So it is just there is the touch of the oil with the tablet, immediately it is absorbed, and when the filter is full of oil, it enters the buoy. So this is the concept of this project. It was a regional project, but it has also an industrial scale, because two factories were involved, so we manufactured 2 sizes of buoy. This one has been also tested, but just for to show that is correct the water line, and but as you see, this is per longa. There was no need to recover oil from the sea. We are going to propose some project to use for the culture of the fishes, or in some ports, to see if how can they work, both the passive system and the active system. There are more possible prototypes, and there are already the molds to produce, so we are able to do this product directly for the use in the final application. There are all the industrial partners to do this. It was a project for technological transfer, and so it is possible to have different colors, different sizes. These 2 designers are made because the problem is that we have 2 main problems. The first is that you need to fix the water line. So you need that the line at which you have the surface of the sea cannot change, otherwise you don't absorb. So this is the problem. You cannot use boats, or for example, some other parts that don't go in equilibrium with the sea. And the second problem is that it cannot tilt, because if you tilt too much, you lose the contact with the water. So it was designed with this particular shape for bumping, but also because it is polyethylene. Polyethylene has a low density, and so you need a lot of mass to increase the weight. So there is a lot of engineering into this system. And we, in this project for technological transfer, we had this approach with factories. So we proposed the technologies both to manufacture and also to assemble this kind of buoy. And now we are open to all the future experimentation on the field. So in the end, I want to thank you for this, and also I want to add something, because you have spent many bad words on the plastic. I'm expected to be an expert in plastics. So I see the buoy is made of plastic. So the plastic can also be, not all the plastics are enemy of the sea. You can also use for improving the sea. And all the plastic that we find in the sea, all those plastic, polystyrene as well, are very, very easy to recycle. Polystyrene is one of the materials which is easier to recycle. The problem is not the technology, the problem is collecting. So there are a lot of opportunities that we can have if we can match the technology level with the real logistic problem, which is recovering, sorting, and reprocessing. So thank you for this opportunity. Thanks to all the audience.
Thank you to you, Professor Quadrini. Really very inspiring, and I think that, as you rightly pointed out, we have been talking about plastic, but you are circularizing plastic too, so I think that also you have a place at the next Council of the Federation of the Sea, because I think that we have to further investigate. And no doubt that this ecological transition is generating, I would say, a new renaissance all over the globe. And it's very interesting to see how much Italy and all the, let's say, the new startups that are, the new projects that are being developed are participating to that renaissance, and we hope that Italy will play a major role for the, let's say, the recovery of our Mediterranean Sea. So I think that it's high time. I think I'm perfectly within the 6 o'clock that's deadline that was that has been let's say imposed by diplomacy. Thank you all, those in presence, those that are still with us in live streaming on the diplomacy channel. It has been a pleasure to share this this sustainable journey with you, and we really look forward to build together bilateral, let's say, journeys concerning each dedicated topics that have been selected and discussed together this afternoon. Thank you all.